In April of 1945, Eastern State Penitentiary had its most famous escape, the so-called Willie Sutton tunnel escape, in which 12 inmates, including the famous bank robber Willie Sutton and the tunnel mastermind named Clarence Kleindienst, escaped through a 97-foot tunnel under the prison walls. In a way, it was an amazing feat of human endurance and ingenuity, because he was able to construct a tunnel that had lights, and it had ladders, and was shored up with wood. It was really an amazing process. And on April 3rd, 1945, 12 guys went piling down the steps, across the bottom of this tunnel, under the wall, through an underground stream, back up, and then, like muddy rats, went scrambling out into the neighborhood to seek their fate. One of the most common questions visitors have is the tunnel still there? Can I see the tunnel? Can I crawl through the tunnel? People want to see this tunnel. It really sparks the imagination.
Basically, they're excavating to relocate the tunnel excavated in 1945 by Clarence Kleindienst and the other members of the escapees from the penitentiary. And the reason we are excavating here is there are photos from 1945 that show the tunnel still open as they were documenting it. We're screening the fill so that we can determine we are indeed in the tunnel, but also maybe get an idea as to where the fill came from that was used to backfill the tunnel after the escapees were caught. And the fill above the tunnel, we found a 1945 Jefferson nickel. It's called a war nickel. It's just an amazing coincidence because of the date of the escape was actually on April 3rd, 1945. This is more of a coincidence because there's a decent amount of wear on the nickel, which would indicate that the nickel really wasn't deposited here in 1945, but sometime after, maybe in the 50s, for example. But then what we have here, it's the base of a 1945 seal test milk bottle. It doesn't have any wear on the base, suggesting that it was deposited very shortly after it was manufactured. It even has the date 45.
So yesterday we began just looking for the exit, and today, inside Clarence Kleindienst's cell, we're actually taking apart the wall to see if we can see the entry of the tunnel. It just seems phenomenal that this guy was able to make a hole in the wall of his cell and to camouflage it so nobody knew he was digging a tunnel, and he was digging it for more than a year. In this instance, we were driven to using a jackhammer to get back into where Kleindienst made the entry to the tunnel. And the reason it was so hard to get back in there is that after the tunnel escape, the prison filled this hole back up with huge chunks of concrete. This is the concrete. Very hard, very tough. It's even strength than chicken wire. So we had to bring somebody in who really knew how to use heavy-duty materials, and he was able to make it 2 whole days of work. This is how far it got. They had to get into the wall so that they could get back into where it is just dirt, and so that they could go down under the structure, under the floor here, and then begin to cross the yard. And so we've gotten back as far as they did, probably, and then all of this had to come out so that they could get the ladder down and get into the tunnel.
We're out here doing a GPR survey, ground penetrating radar survey, looking for an escape tunnel. And by setting out a grid On the yard here, we're going to be taking vertical sections of data, and from those vertical sections we can then create maps at different depths to try to extract the location of the escape tunnel.
Once we determined the probable alignment using the ground penetrating radar, we then opened up 2 pieces in the pavement, which is 4 to 6 inches thick. Once we remove that, we're now going down by hand, first with a shovel and then with an auger, to see if we can get down into the tunnel. Well, we want to be able to determine its exact depth beneath the surface and whether or not it's still open or it's collapsed. The second day we worked with the Corps, we actually hit a void, which meant the tunnel was still there. So what we did was we rented a camera called an electric eel, and we dropped that camera down the hole, and it showed us what it was seeing. And first we just saw the dirt and dirt tumbling off the walls, and we saw the floor of the tunnel, and suddenly it saw these pieces of wood, which we think are the shoring for the tunnel. We couldn't really tell if the wood was still in situ or whether it had fallen over, but we'll be able to study the tape and try to figure out how that fits into what we know about the construction of the tunnel. So this is a great success. I mean, this is the first time that they've seen into this tunnel that was supposedly filled after the escape took place. One thing to use that little sewer camera last year and get a glimpse of what was in the tunnel, but we really didn't see enough. It was frustrating. So we found these guys in ViruSight, and they have a robotic crawler that crawls along on 6 wheels and has a light in front so that we can see in more detail what's left down there.
The camera is a 6-wheel drive steerable self-propelled tractor with a 40:1 digital and optical zoom camera on it. It enables us to crawl over rougher terrain, give you a better field of view. We actually have 2 camera systems here. One is what's called the Quick View camera. The Quick View camera allows us to view the crawler as it's actually working. We're right side up. As we got in there, we were able to look around and decide the best path for the crawler to take. And as we proceeded to move the crawler down the tunnel, we actually stumbled upon some debris and wood and wires and stuff that they used for shoring and to light the tunnel. Pretty interesting stuff.
We were all surprised the tunnel was still there, and we've left it there. So as visitors walk outside cell block 7, they're still walking above the old remains of that escape tunnel from 1945, and it's there for the future, and eventually we'll find another way of letting our visitors see it in person. But for now, it's just there under the courtyard.